Hello, my name is Dr. Dexter Russell, and today I would like to talk about a very important subject. This subject includes every American, impacts every American. It's the subject of obesity. Now, I'm not suggesting that all Americans are obese or overweight, but we either have someone in the family or a colleague at work, but we know we're very close to this issue. Now, when I talk about obesity and overweight, I like to make the distinction so that we can tell, or you, the public, can tell if you fall within either or. Obesity is defined as having excess body fat to such an extent that your health is at risk. And there are several barometers for measuring obesity. The one that we're probably most familiar with is called the BMI, and which is the body mass index, and that's basically taking your height, dividing it by your weight, and then you square the result. Body mass index greater than 30 kilograms per square meter is obese. From 25 to 29.9 BMI is considered overweight. Probably a more reasonable or more accessible way of judging whether you're obese or not is by checking your waist circumference. For a male, if you're greater than 40 inches in the waist, you are obese. And for a female, if you're greater than 35 inches in the waist, you are considered obese. Now, when we talk about being overweight, we have to take various factors into consideration. There's cause and effects. And what are these causes? Well, there are several theories that science has put forth in terms of what causes obesity. There are general and specific reasons. Under the general category, we can look at metabolic rate, and that's simply how your body uses the energy that you consume in the form of food and beverages. Another barometer is called the set point. The set point is where each individual has a certain point when they have taken in a certain amount of food. They then decide, I've had enough to eat, and they stop eating. It's called satiety. However, there are people where that mechanism does not work, and they will just continue eating way beyond the point where they're comfortable. Another factor to consider are fat cells. Now, we're all born with the same number of cells. However, if at an early age you are overfed and you're underactive, it's likely that you will start putting on weight at an early age, and those fat cells will begin to multiply, and as an adult they don't go away. So fat cells are also a barometer that one would have to take into consideration to explain your obesity. Another factor of family influences. And when I talk about family influences, I'm thinking of hereditary. There are certain families, by genetics, they tend to put on extra weight, and vice versa. Some families, they never gain weight. Eating patterns are also important. Food choices. What are you selecting in terms of what are you putting into your body? Family relationships. There are some families that when they get together, it's all about food, and it's all about consuming everything that's been prepared because it's a sign of affection, a sign of love. Food as a security substitute, and this is very important, because there are sometimes you'll find people eating not necessarily because they're hungry. They could be eating because they're alone, and this is a way of feeling comfortable with themselves. And there are other reasons, that dealing with insecurities, and people use food as a form of just keeping them emotionally calm and collected. Psychological attitudes also plays a role, and this is how you think about food. What is the purpose of food? How you relate to food. from a psychological perspective, also influence whether you are obese or overweight. Self-image. We are influenced again by the media, we're influenced by the people we associate with, and people constantly compare themselves with colleagues, family, friends. Again, following the criteria for obesity and weight management, we all fall into various categories. And the way you think about yourself, the way you feel about yourself, is also important in whether you consider yourself obese or overweight. Stress. Now, this is something that we're starting to gain more insight into the relationship between stress and being overweight or obese. The more stressed we become, the more we look for a way of relieving that stress. Either we can remove ourselves from the stressor, that is, whatever's causing the stress, or we find a way to cope with it. And for many people, eating is one way of coping with stress.